Tonight on Ukraine Today, no chips, no Iskander missiles. Ukrainian drones hit one of Russia's biggest microelectronics factories. A May-Day manipulation. Putin suddenly offers a 3-day ceasefire. How did Ukraine and the West react? Clear and official. Which country did Germany's next Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, call a threat to the whole European community? Doctrine of peace through fear. More nuclear-flavored threats from Russia's deputy chairman of the Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev. And fighting the darkness. How Ukraine's blackout experience might help Europe cope the massive power outages. All that and more in today's Ukraine Today. Hi there, we are from Ukraine. My name is Volodymyr Robchun. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let's go. The Ukrainian Armed Forces successfully repelled another Russian assault in the east. Russia tried to break through Ukraine's defenses using 2 armored vehicles and motorcycles, but instead they lost their gear and their stormtroopers. These images were shared by Ukraine's defenders. Meanwhile, drones attacked one of the largest Russian microchip factories, the Kremlin Group in Bryansk. The plant caught fire, and the battlefield remains hot. In the Sumy region, Russian forces are trying to create buffer zones and move their artillery closer to the city. They are sending more North Koreans there and even fresh conscripts.
A unique operation. Border guards used drones to free 3 Ukrainian soldiers from captivity. Ukrainian Armed Forces fighters discovered an enemy group that had captured Ukrainian defenders. Several UAV crews were dispatched to intercept and destroy the enemy. They managed to separate the enemy from the Ukrainian soldiers and force the enemy side to flee using drops. The drops were so precise that the enemy had no chance. The Russians abandoned the captives and retreated.
Closer we get to Moscow, the more I see these.
Meanwhile, the Russian city of Bryansk was shaken. Explosions were heard there for several hours in a row.
Another one. Just how many will there be today?
The Kremlin plant, which produces electronics for the military needs of the occupiers, was hit by drones.
In short, something is burning, and something is exploding. It's burning very intensely.
Kremlin produces a wide range of microchips and components used in strategic weapon systems, particularly in the Topolem and Bulava missile complexes, the S-300 and S-400 anti-aircraft missile systems, as well as onboard electronics for combat aircraft. 94% of Kremlin's products are for the needs of the Russian military-industrial complex. It is one of the leading Russian factories for the production of microchips and components for both offensive systems and, accordingly, the aerospace forces of the Russian Federation.
This is already the 3rd attack on the factory. In October last year, Kremlin even temporarily ceased operations.
The Russian side was then forced to admit that the strikes paralyzed the production cycle and significantly reduced the capabilities of the Russian military-industrial complex in terms of replenishing offensive systems.
Meanwhile, on the front, the area of gray zones and combat zones expanded to 5 to 7 kilometers. Due to the active use of drones by Ukrainian defenders and Russian occupiers, Buna reports the Institute for the Study of War. Also, according to their data, the aggressor country's troops continue ground attacks in the Sumy region, attempting to create buffer zones and approach the city of Sumy within the wider range of their artillery. However, they have not achieved any confirmed successes.
The Russians are trying to expand their presence in the Sumy region, with plans to create a so-called sanitary zone, as they call it. That is, to effectively establish a Russian presence in the Sumy region, which would reduce or eliminate the possibility of a repeat of the successful Ukrainian counter-offensive scenario in the Kursk region. At the moment, there is no basis to speak of a threat of a breakthrough by Russian troops directly to the regional center. The Ukrainian Defense Forces are conducting an active defense.
Meanwhile, North Korea has officially confirmed for the first time that it has sent its troops to Russia to support Moscow in the war against Ukraine. This was done by order of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, according to the mutual defense agreement between Pyongyang and Moscow, as reported by South Korean media. The North Korean leader, according to the report, called the troops sent to Russia heroes carrying out a sacred mission.
The presence of North Korean military personnel is an open secret. According to the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, 12,000 North Korean military personnel have been deployed to the territory of the Russian Federation, specifically the Kursk region, to directly participate in combat operations. At the moment, the asynchronous statements from the Russian side and North Korea regarding the participation of North Korean army personnel in combat operations on the territory of the Russian Federation should be regarded as an element of political blackmail by the Russian Federation.
But it's not just the North Koreans. Putin is sending conscript soldiers to war. This is evidenced by the interception of a conversation with a Russian woman.
They sleep in a cellar like the one you have. She took a photo of it. They sleep in this cellar. This is Guevo, where all the fighting is happening, and they are currently there in Guevo. It's just terrible to send conscripts to such a war.
160,000 is the eternal draft. Moreover, it should be noted that conscripts will apparently be sent directly to the combat zones within the territory of the Russian Federation itself. This is primarily the Kursk and Belgorod regions. Despite the Russian side's statements that conscripts do not participate in active combat operations, this information does not correspond to reality. It is precisely the conscripts who have replenished the main exchange fund, both in the Kursk and, accordingly, in the Belgorod regions.
And while Putin sends everyone to war indiscriminately, Europe is helping Ukraine fight against the occupiers. The Czech Republic continues to support Ukraine with ammunition supplies as part of an initiative that began last year. According to the country's Ministry of Defense, 400,000 units of large-caliber ammunition will be delivered to Ukraine by the end of April.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Ukraine is fighting for freedom. Support independent Ukrainian journalism so we can keep telling you the truth about this war. Click the link in the description below and become our sponsor. Together to victory. And these are shots of Ukraine Neptune missile hitting an oil depot in Novorossiysk. Let's just watch and listen. Putin wants a ceasefire. Yes, I had to read that twice too. The dictator says he's ready to pause fighting for 3 days, from May 8th till the end of May 10th. Why? So Russia can celebrate its victory cult holiday. It is still about Nazi Germany surrendering in World War II. Of course, in classic Kremlin style, it's all mixed with arrogance, stolen legacy and made-up history. Now Moscow expects Ukraine to also stay quiet during those days. And if we don't, they're already hinting at consequences. President Volodymyr Zelensky reacted to the offer.
Another attempt at manipulation. For some reason, everyone must wait until 8th May and only then cease fire to ensure Putin's silence during the parade. We value people's lives, not parades. That is why we believe the world believes that there is no reason to wait until 8th May. The ceasefire should not be for a few days to kill again. An immediate, complete, and unconditional ceasefire, at least for 30 days.
The United States also reacted. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt reminded everyone that Donald Trump supports a permanent ceasefire, but also said he's trying to balance optimism with realism when it comes to a peace deal.
Vladimir Putin this morning offered a temporary ceasefire. The president has made it clear he wants to see a permanent ceasefire, first to stop the killing, stop the bloodshed. And while he remains optimistic he can strike a deal, he's also being realistic as well. And both leaders need to come to the table to negotiate their way out of this. And I do think that the president meeting with President Zelensky shows that he is exuding a lot of effort and time into this because he wants to be a peacemaker president.
But let's be honest, the clearest response came from Republican Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. It's not just about Russia's offers, but Russia's behavior in general.
Here's what I see. Putin has reneged on every promise that he has made to President Trump. His latest proposal is, well, nothing. He wants to keep all the territory that he's taken. He wants to prohibit Ukraine from joining NATO, and he wants America and Europe to stop helping Ukraine. I think that Putin thinks that America has taken the bullet train to Chunktown. I think he thinks we're afraid of him. He has jacked around President Trump at every turn. He has disrespected our president. I don't think it's going to get any better until we make it clear to Mr. Putin that we are willing to turn him and his country into fish food.
Honestly, you want to replay that one again and again and again. Russia is not just a threat to Ukraine, but to all of Europe. That's what Friedrich Merz said, the leader of Germany's Christian Democratic Union and the next Chancellor of Germany. He made the statement at the party conference in Berlin. Merz also emphasized Germany's full support for Ukraine's self-defense and said he hopes both the US and Europe will continue helping Ukraine together.
By helping Ukraine, we are also defending our freedom and our European values. And that is why Ukraine's fight against Russia's aggression is also a fight to preserve peace and freedom in our country, because we too are directly threatened by this war and by Russia.
Just a reminder, Germany's defense minister Boris Pistorius said his country would keep supplying military aid to Ukraine even if US support stops. Still wondering why Russia is a threat to the West? Let's ask Dmitry Medvedev, deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council. Speaking to Russian youth, he accused the West of so-called Russophobia and said this.
So they have carefully memorized the methodologies of their predecessors. Reformatting this approach, sad as it may sound, is unrealistic in the near future. The only thing stopping them is the threat of retaliation. Our possible answer to their lauded principle of peace through strength. What's the answer? You ask. Well, the answer is understandably what? Unfortunately, the answer is doctrine. Peace through fear. Fear is the one that still works. The rest is zero.
Did you see the background behind Medvedev? Yeah, that was a picture of a nuclear explosion. It popped up right as he talked about Russia's peace through fear doctrine. Nice and subtle, huh? Tell us in the comments below, what do you think of this very peaceful peacemaking? And did you catch that dramatic hand movement when he said zero? Somebody's been practicing in the mirror. France has called an urgent UN Security Council meeting to address Russian aggression. Ukraine's Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed the session will take place tonight at 11 p.m. Kyiv time. Earlier, President Emmanuel Macron said the next 2 weeks would be critical for any chance at ceasefire. And he believes he has persuaded the US to increase pressure on Moscow. Meanwhile, Ukraine has offered help to European countries struggling with massive power outages. Ukrainian officials say that after years of surviving Russian attacks on the power grid, Ukraine has gained valuable experience. Yes, we have suffered, but we have also learned how to manage blackouts, rebuild infrastructure and adapt. And we are ready to share that knowledge with our allies. That's it for today. Thank you for staying with us. We read your comments and we feel your support. Strength to our defenders. Glory to Ukraine. Like, subscribe, and see you soon.